This is probably the most important training block in picnic post-Analysed history. It was a training block that got Oscar Onley in outrageous condition for both Tour de Suisse and Tour de France and effectively saved them from relegation. So, pretty big pressure on the big man, but he delivered. So we'll go through the kind of general outline, go through some sessions, see what he did at altitude, what he didn't do at altitude. So he was staying at about 2,000 meters roughly. You can see like where his ride starts, maybe 2,200 meters, so pretty high up actually for altitude. So he arrived, let's say Wednesday, but first ride was on Thursday. So the first 3 days very, very easy. He really doesn't probably go above LT1, assuming it's around 300 watts, let's say. So pretty easy. He starts his first efforts on Sunday, just doing some kind of like threshold work, and then he does these 10 seconds on, 20 seconds off, which you'll see quite a lot of. But yeah, so the first week, maybe not so typical, 13 hours only. But after that, we'll get into kind of the meat of the sessions. It's really about a 2.5 week block of serious training. So he has a calf spin, and that's kind of, I guess, when the training block starts. So what you'll generally see is he does 3 days on, 1 day off. Again, pretty standard. Generally, the first 2 days are hard, threshold and VO2, sometimes not always, but generally that's the way. Then he always does a long ride, 6 to 7 hours, generally 6. Intensity factor very, very low for him, and then a day off. So the day offs are always an hour and a half, 200 normalized, more or less, an hour and a half, 200 normalized, hour and a half, 200 normalized. So pretty standard, and you'll see there's a lot of patterns in this training. So we'll just kind of go through some of the sessions. So here's like maybe a threshold session where he's doing a warm-up, five lots of 30-30s, which is quite good to do. Then some 350 watt efforts, 2 by 25, and I've got the kind of intervals here. So over-under stuff, generally a lot of that. Again, some VO2 on Wednesday, 10 minutes 360, some 30-15s, and then some 8-minute over 40-20s as well. And then he finished with some more kind of threshold work, maybe more like race prep stuff. And then again, we're going through easy ride, threshold, again, very similar, 30 minutes, 350 over-unders, 30 minutes, 340, and then he did some weirder efforts. They also finished at 2,000 meters, which we'll get onto. So, like, so far, the sessions, they're not all that crazy. It's just consistent intensity and a consistent volume over the time. If you look at the normalized, they're actually always very similar. The intensity days about 280, 270. But yeah, so you can see there's some double days. He only did 2 double days. So in the morning, he just did like some easy threshold work, 20 minutes, 350, half an hour, 350. Then in the afternoon, he did like 360 watts, which isn't that hard for him. And then some 1 minute on, 1 minute off, but the rest got easier. And then some 5 times 20 seconds as well. I don't think I have a link to that actually. This probably is the first ride that I want to do. I think I've already got this up actually. No. So this was 7-hour ride. So obviously you don't see that often, maybe, but yeah, 7-hour ride, 270 normalized. So pretty hard ride. So this was one of the harder rides he did. So he kicks off descending 20 minutes, 330, half an hour, 330, 20 minutes, 330. So you can see like he's already done about 4,400 kilojoules before he starts the meat of the session, which is 10 minutes at 330. And it's kind of a combination of over-unders here with a big sprint at the end, 370 watts to 25 minutes. So you can start to see this is kind of the intensity. He's going to be riding a lot of the mountains up around 6 watts per kilo. So yeah, like no heart rate data. He only does heart rate on certain efforts, certain rides, generally recovery rides. But you can see like the setup here of the over-unders is like at altitude as well. You can see this is like gets up to around 1,500 meters. So not crazy, but it's not all done like at sea level. But yeah, after a lot of KJs, you can see the lead in here, 4,900 KJs. If we go into the laps, you can see this session. It looks interesting. So if you want to copy this at home, 1 minute 450, 2 minute 390, 3 minutes 332. I reckon his threshold's about 370-ish. So it's actually pretty hard to do, I reckon, because you are recovering a lot with the 3 minutes. It's probably about 85%, but these 3 minutes are very, very over threshold. So actually quite a hard session and probably harder than it seems. But yeah, 7 hours, 270 normalized is a lot. So we'll get back to here. So the hours was 27 hours, which is actually quite a lot in that week. And the week before was 28. So volume's pretty big. Maybe he's going to the gym. I think in some days he may have overdone it here because he does 2 calf spins back to back. So potentially he overdid or not him, but they overdid it. 3 hard intensity days in a row. But that could have also been the plan. This is the only time there's 3 hard intensity days in a row. And yeah, so then he has 2 calf spins. So that again is if you're programming your own training or whatever. If you do bananas intensity in a row, like this one is out of 7 days a week, he's done 4 days of intensity, and then another on Monday. Probably need to schedule more rest than you would do. Again, some more VO2 stuff. I want to go through this session actually because again, which one is this? This one is got new type of intervals, which I'll go through in a minute. But yeah, it starts off some warm-ups, then he does 8 minutes, I guess over VO2 max. Maybe it's like 20 minute. Nah, it's probably around threshold. And then you can see some nice 30-30s here. I think they were, no, 30-15s. And then he does these intervals where they're like, you basically decrease the rest but increase the intensity slightly. And there's good evidence that they really help increase your VO2 max. So you can see like starts off with 3 minutes 450, then 2 minutes 450, then 1 minute 480, and the recovery is going down. So this was the study here. High intensity, decreasing interval training, increases time above 90% VO2 max. So what they did is they compared this one against 30-15s and also just like standard intervals. And what they basically said was that this type of interval got the highest time over 90% of VO2 max. It's obviously not very specific for cycling, but what I do think it is like interesting to see how you would schedule that at the end of a session. So at the beginning, maybe you're like, okay, I'm more confident they can hit the numbers we need to hit. But at the end, when they're really struggling, we use something that's maybe easier mentally. It does get easier. You can see the watts, like they do go up, but not massively. And then maybe that's an easier way to do it. And then he just does like 2 minutes hard and then basically 30 second flat out sprint. So pretty hard VO2 session. And then just again, straight back into it, threshold. And then getting towards the end of the week, the end of his training camp, he's doing another double day here. So let's actually look at this double day because he does something interesting, which number one is doing all the intervals at altitude. So he doesn't really descend. So this is done at an average altitude of probably around 2,000 meters. So this was like 6 minutes, 366 watts. And these are the intervals I'm talking about. 10 seconds on, 20 seconds off, 10 seconds on, 20 seconds off. And he has a good sprint, so the numbers actually aren't that wild, but you can see like it's obviously just trying to keep some leg speed going. It's probably a pretty good VO2 session as well. I don't think you'd get crazy adaptions because it's such a short interval, but still I think it's something at altitude that you'll see a lot of professional teams do, which is trying to keep sprints in as much as possible. And yeah, that's kind of it. Then he does one massive ride here, which probably we should go through because this is the ultimate form finder, which was 6 hours, 280 normalized, I think it was. 3 times 15 tapper, like 300 watts is 330 watts, not too hard. And then he just does basically 11 minutes at 400 watts, which is so many, and then sprint 600 watts for 30 at the end of it. So yeah, pretty impressive ride. And yeah, that's kind of most of my stuff done with him. I think if we're going to go through some takeaways, if you're doing altitude, start off easy. He does it so easy to begin with. I think next up, the scheduling of 3 days on, 1 day off is good. Unless you're going to do this crazy thing, 3 days of intensity in a row, it's pretty good. 1 day off, keep it easy. Heart rate 100 for him. So, and his max gets close to 200. It's not like a cracked pro's heart like often. So I really would say 100 heart rate's a good one to aim for, roughly maybe less. And yeah, just like he keeps his intensity on. None of the sessions look like too crazy hard. He doesn't actually do that much stuff. He doesn't do crazy VO2 sessions. There's just some VO2 here and there. The main thing he's really working at is just like ability to ride at threshold or just below threshold for a long time. He obviously has Tour Swiss, which does a lot of stuff. So it's pretty complicated to compare this to a normal person because they're not going to be banging out a 9-day stage race, like as prep. But it's kind of interesting to see what he was up to. So anyway, cheers for watching. Hope you did enjoy this video. If you've got anyone else who want me to do analysis on, please let me know. And I can do that as well. Anyway, cheers for watching. I'll see you in the next one.